This next clip is hilarious. Kamala Harris told striking auto workers that she's a capitalist and she's pushing for tax cuts. This is like peak, high-level, don't know how to read a room stuff.
Look, let me just tell y'all so we can be really clear, because I don't want to leave you with any misimpressions. I am not a socialist. I believe in the virtues of capitalism if capitalism is actually working. But one of the points that one must understand is capitalism presupposes that people, if they're on equal footing, can compete and the best will rise. Well, that's a fallacy in America today, because most people are not starting out on the same base. And over the past many decades, the rules have been written in a way that have not been in support of working people and working families in America. And we've got to deal with that. Part of what I'm proposing is that we change the tax code so that for families that are making less than $100,000 a year, they get a tax credit of up to $6,000 a year that they can take home at up to $500 a month. And people say, how are you going to pay for it, Kamala? Well, it's really simple. On day one, we're going to repeal that tax bill benefiting the top 1% and the biggest corporations.
So, I actually, to her point on like, oh, I'll give a tax credit to the middle class and the poor, like, I'm not even necessarily against that. I've often said on the show that, like, I've never met a tax cut for working people that I didn't support because they need more money. They need more money, and that's just a way to get them more money. So I'm not against it, but what I'm, like, floored by is her inability as a politician to understand that you're giving the wrong speech to the wrong room. Like, okay, you're talking to striking auto workers, and you're telling them that you're a capitalist and tax cuts are awesome. No, that's the room where you go in and you say, hey, we should have stronger union protections. We should have card check. We should have a right to a union. We should have a living wage. We should have Medicare for all so that, your employer can't just jack your health insurance when you go and protest, which, by the way, that did happen. That happened. Now they flipped, but that did happen and people were panicking. So that's what you do. You go there and you say, hey, we should have Medicare for all. You wouldn't have to deal with that. We should have higher wages. We should have better worker protections. Like, this is what you say. But she goes there, I'm a capitalist and I like tax cuts. Oh, man. She's just... You know what this is, guys? This is the remnants of the Reagan era. Like, people don't know how much of an impact the Reagan era had on politics in America. Because, the idea is, the era of big government is over. The scariest words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And it was this relentless glorification of the free market and relentless demonization of the government. And there's a lot of people from that generation, raised in that generation, who internalize that to the point where they think that's a duh. Like, well, what do you mean? No, it's a duh that the less the government does, the better. So therefore, tax cuts are by definition good. Capitalism is awesome because a rising tide lifts all boats. They have all these like little cliched responses in their own heads that they think, well, this is the duh position. But here's the thing. It is not the duh position to working people in this country. It's not the duh position to younger voters in this country. If anything, we're the generation that, saw firsthand the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession. Go look at the numbers on the median income for millennials. It's like $20,000 in each state, respectively, anywhere from like 20 to 30. We're doing way worse than our, the older generation, our parents and their parents did at this point in their lives. So this, like, when you're talking about, I'll give you a tax cut, and the people you're talking to don't make any money, that's not really like the first thing they want to hear. They want to hear about debt cancellation. They want to hear about free college. They want to hear about Medicare for all. They want to hear about ending the wars. They want to hear about totally restructuring our economy and kind of getting back to that FDR vision. Like, there were eras in American politics, and there was an FDR era where, like, everybody thought his ideas were common sense. And when he did his Economic Bill of Rights, everybody was like, this is obvious. Why shouldn't we do this? Talking about right to a job and things of that nature. And then the Reagan era came along in the 80s, and it was the opposite. And I feel like Kamala is still reeling from that era and is still Like, that's imprinted on her brain somewhere, so she always colors within those lines. And what she does is she tries to go as left as I possibly can go within the logic of the Reagan era. And that is not good. Not good to say the least. We need to imagine a totally different style of politics and a totally new direction. And she is a leftover, she's a politician left over from a previous generation, and there's still so much of, because what happened after Reagan? Then the next Democrat who won was Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton ran as a new Democrat, and the idea of the new Democrat was, oh, I'm not like the previous two far left Democrats. I'm a centrist. I agree with Democrats and Republicans, and I'm above the fray. I triangulate. I'm a centrist. That was Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton won. And so then the dominant philosophy in the Democratic Party, both ideologically, but then also because of the corrupting influence of big money, became, oh, centrism is always the way to go. So fast forward to today, that's Kamala. The serious candidates, as she often calls herself, I'm a first-tier candidate. The first-tier candidates, this is how they think. Oh, this is Washington, D.C. conventional bubble wisdom. You can't go far left and win. That's not a thing. Forget that FDR kept getting reelected and the country loved him and, he was the most dominant political force arguably in American history. Forget all that. It's Bill Clinton era, was the 90s. This is the model. The model is centrism. The model is take big money. The model is, color within these lines and don't go too far outside of it. And that's what she believes, and that's how she's acting. Not good. Not good.